Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. If you haven't met me before, hi, my name's Rebecca, it's nice to meet you. I'm a 30-year-old Australian mum and I have disabilities, and I'm also raising my daughter who has disabilities of her own. And on this channel I do, budgeting finances from a Centrelink's perspective. I also talk through my disability journey and also motherhood, the ups and downs and everything within between that. So if you like what you see and you want to stick around, that would be awesome. I would love to have you here. And with that said and out of the way, let's get into today's video. Okay, today's video, this is going to be quite a vulnerable one for me because it's not something that I've really talked about openly and really to anybody to touch on it, and it's also, I don't really know if I'm going to explain myself well, so bear with me with this one. But today I wanted to talk about how disability has changed how I view myself. For context, if you're just seeing this video for the first time and seeing me for the first time, I am legally blind and I have many years to see, and they come with their own challenges. I do have videos on those as well if you're interested. They have their own separate challenges, and then they also combined, because that's great. This is kind of like my thought process running through right now, because it's not really something that I've thought of either. Like, I think subconsciously I've known how I see myself as a disabled person, but I've never vocally said it, and I've never really healed from that either. So growing up, I never really saw myself as a disabled person, not until I think it was actually my voice. I guess some would consider my voice as a disability as well. But from being so premature, there's so many different things that came from that. My voice, my ears, and my eyes. Also, I thought that I spoke like everybody else, because to me, my voice sounds very different to how I listen to it in videos, for example. Like, listening to myself back, to me, I don't sound like that. I sound different. Obviously, like, the quality sounds different to me. Yeah, it's really, really bizarre. So a close friend of mine who I'm still best friends with today, like, she was like, no, like, you have a really husky voice. I was like, no, I don't. What are you talking about? This is when we were in, like, I don't know, 6th grade? I think 6th grade, so we were like 11. And I always wondered too why everybody wanted me to repeat what I was saying, because I just saw that everybody had bad hearing. I honestly didn't think it was me. And I'm like, what the hell? And then when she said that kind of clicked in my brain, like, oh, okay, why? And how do I fix it? Because, back then it was I really viewed myself as normal. That really shattered that. And also, I don't blame my friend at all for that. But, from that really catapulted how I viewed myself. I really viewed, and sometimes still do, I think, view myself as small and weak and not worthy of anything, really, of love, or I'm unlovable and I'm this and the other because of my disability, because I'm a burden to others, or I think of myself as a burden and a nuisance to other people. So yeah, that's kind of where that stems from. And as I've gotten older, I'm slowly becoming more adaptive to my disabilities and just adapting to life. But there are times where I'm just like, why me? Why did I get given this body in this context with the disabilities that I have? Like, well, why? And sometimes I look at it in a really curious way, and then other days I'm just really angry, like, why? And it kind of flip-flops. As I've gotten older, it's less of the angry why and more of the, like, it's also now, especially now doing this channel, now it's like, what can I do as a disabled woman to either educate or help other people feel seen and heard and valued, even if I don't. If I'm able to give that to other people through my videos, that also helps me feel worthy, like, oh, okay, I'm bringing value to other people in their lives from my story and from what I'm talking about in my videos. Yeah, it's definitely something that I'm still struggling with and I'm still coming to terms with, and I'm trying to do a lot of healing through EMDR therapy. I know I've mentioned that so many times. I bet you are sick to death of hearing it if you've watched my other videos, but truly EMDR is where the healing is at for me in so many different aspects, and my self-worth and my confidence in myself is definitely one of them. I definitely think being in a relationship, we're nearly 8 years together, and he's always had confidence in me, and even when I don't believe in myself, which is a lot of the time, he still does, regardless of how I act or, just anything, he's always lifting me up. He's trying his best to lift me up. And, slowly over the years, I'm becoming more confident, and I think that's age as well, but definitely I think the people that I surround myself with have really helped boost my confidence because they love me for me. So if they love me for me, then why don't I love me for myself, for who I am to my core, in spite of, well, not in spite, but despite of my disabilities, even though they are such a big factor of who I am, you know? And I know some people don't like to identify with being disabled. That's not the case for me, because it literally is my day-to-day life. I am disabled, you know, especially now as a mum even. It's something that I'm like, well, if she loves me, she doesn't even know I have a disability. She doesn't even know she has disabilities. If she can love me as her mum and as a human, then surely I can have that same compassion for myself. That's really hard to like bring to fruition when it's not been something that I've been used to or privy to like feeling about myself throughout my childhood. And by the way, just to say, it's not from people being me. Well, some bullies, yes, mostly through school though, but I'm talking about family and friends. Like my family and friends, they've always loved me for who I am, but it's definitely more coming from like growing up in school and being bullied and stuff like that. That's definitely where my self-worth is kind of tanked. And another point I want to bring up too is living in a world that's not made for us as disabled people. Like, yes, for wheelchairs, yes, there is a lot more accessibility for that, but I'm talking more of the internal, the things that you can't literally see, you know, pun intended, the things that people can't see. You would look at me and think she's not disabled, she doesn't look disabled, she looks fine. The inside, I am definitely disabled. You look through my scans of my eyes and my ears, you're like, oh, okay, never mind. But the fact that we live in a world that's not made for the invisible disability, especially, it's really challenging. But even the disabilities that are visible are still not catered enough to. Growing up, I really thought that I was growing up in a typical world. I was a typical person. You know, I didn't have disabilities, but turns out I did, and that was a really hard thing for me to come to terms with and to navigate, because I didn't know that world. It's really difficult to adapt to a world and environments and scenarios and situations and circumstances and everything else. It goes from going out to doctors and medical professionals that just think that it's anxiety, or think that it's, you know, we're lying, especially as a woman. That's definitely something that's put very, very strongly on us as women, I feel. You know, the essence of like, oh, it's just in your head, oh, it's just anxiety, like you're just overthinking it, you're just hormonal, emotional, whatever. And this is regardless of having disabilities. This is, you know, for example, like some people it takes 10 years or more to finally get diagnosed and be listened to with endometriosis, because they weren't listened to for 10 years prior. And it's also the trauma that comes with that too, of not having trust in the people that we need to in order to, you know, take care of ourselves, because we can't, you know, in that sense, like medications and, you know, surgeries and things like that. Like, we need to have trust in those people, and for those people to turn around and not believe us and not have trust in us, then it's like, then that kind of psychological backlash of that is like, well, you really start to question yourself, and you're like, am I overthinking this? Am I being dramatic? Am I being a burden? And that's regardless of disability. And, you know, I can see in some areas that it is starting to get better, and that's amazing. I mean, in the last 30 years, it's definitely gotten way better, especially for, like, you know, captions and, you know, auditory descriptions, and I really appreciate that, because the unfortunate thing is actual fact is that the majority of us are going to end up disabled one day, regardless of how old we are. We can be born with it, or we're going to end up disabled in our elderly ages, or at any point in our lives. We're all going to end up disabled in some capacity. So the fact that the world's already built for non-disabled people when the majority of us will end up disabled is kind of baffling to me. And look, I get that there are people out there that are doing the work, they're doing the research, they're trying so hard to get the accessibility across to different brands and to different areas of the world, and the other people just take it as a very egotistical stance, and that's just not okay. We need representation of all kinds, but especially for people like me who are disabled. So the last thing I wanted to touch on for today's video is how I'm gonna navigate trying to bring back that confidence in myself. Well, maybe not bring back, but find confidence in myself, because I don't think I've ever really had it. Bring up my self-esteem and my self-worth in myself. And I think doing that will help change the way I view myself as a disabled person, and I'm definitely doing that through EMDR therapy. I've not started in that section yet, because there's a lot of other shit that I've got to try and patch up in my foundation. Working on that, I think, will bring a new sense of confidence, love, especially self-love, and also I think will help me stand up for myself more, have more of a voice and advocacy for not only myself, but, you know, for my daughter, who is disabled. You know, I definitely have that motherly advocacy for her, but as she gets older, just advocating for her in general, and also helping her build that strength in herself to advocate for herself and her needs, and know that she is confident in who she is regardless of what she has. That goes for me, that goes for all of us with disabilities. No matter what we look like, we are worthy. And that, even though that's hard, I'm saying that now and it's hard for me to believe that for myself, but it's so easy for me to believe that in other people. I believe that you are worthy. I believe that you are lovable and you are loved. I believe that you are so capable regardless of your disability. So I think that's going to be where I'm going to leave this video here. Thank you all so much for watching. Comment down below your thoughts and I'll see you in my next video.